and half sorry that you just made the closing statement that you did, because it kind of undercut a certain level of whatever respect I'd started to develop for you in all this. Because in the past, wait a minute, Mark, please, hear me out on this. You just recited a beautiful summary of the standard ID cant about what we think is wrong with evolution and how science is blind to what we could possibly add to this.
Why would I not have that information? If I've taken the time to examine the issues, why wouldn't I?
You haven't taken the time to examine the issues. That's the problem. Right. Every time we've asked this, you've refused to engage the arguments. You go into a lot of this hand, the other hand. I wish you had made a film that had actually engaged with some of the science that you just brought up and the issues of, are there holes like this in what the science has? Because that would have been a really valuable film to have out there. And you would have then seen that the science actually has far better answers than you apparently are even aware is out there. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's too bad that what we have here is a film that's really interested in trying to just have this basically an assault against a materialist worldview. And that what this really is a film that is not against evolution. This is a film that is against anything except a religious view of society, and that anything else is seen as too dangerous, and that it views that it takes it that religion has to be so pervasive that it resents the fact that science just tries to push a program of pure empirical experimentation and inquiry.
Well, maybe you want to say something?
It's funny. I'm here to answer questions, but I'm getting a sermon. You've spent more time talking than I have.
Oh, I can't believe that's true.
Ooh, I can.
Well, we can also we have data. We can actually analyze that, right. And we can post the answers.
We can use the scientific method.
I was going to just finish by saying that a lot of the answers to some of the outstanding questions that you had there that you were listening to at the end can be found every month in the pages of Scientific American, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, we can let you go. I know you want to get out of here.
Well, one of the questions that I've asked people, in many different kinds of people in different venues, is, okay, the broad claim, the big fear that's rolled out is exactly what we see in the film and what we see in other places is that, look, the wedge document, what's really going on here? What's really going on here is this is an effort to get religion into the schools. That's what's really going on here. And I ask the question of people from the spectrum of atheists to just hardcore fundamentalists. Okay? I ask that question. And you know what? Would you like a science teacher or a university professor teaching you or your children about religion, about theology? Would you want that taught by a high school or university professor, science teacher? And the answer, that this is one of the very few areas that I think you can have virtually universal agreement. That from the atheist to the hardcore fundamentalist, they would say no. Because, believe me, the atheist doesn't want to get anywhere near religion. The people who are agnostic don't want to be bothered with it. This is all too much passion for them. The people who are fundamentalist are going to say, look, all I want is, I want evolutionary theory fully taught. Okay, I'd like this idea of design. I'd like to see it discussed. And we will take care of the theology part in our homes and in our churches. So this is the big earth shaker, the big problem. We're trying to backdoor religion. When in fact, I can find no one who wants that.
Yeah. On the other hand, by the way, Mark, you keep saying you want to leave, and then you say something else like that. I mean, here's the thing. It's very nice that you say that there is no effort to backdoor religion about this. You just want to be able to still have religion out there in society, and the right people are being taught about religion by the right people, and that's just great. If you look at the science, if you look at the journals, if you look at the content of the textbooks, there is shockingly little time that scientists like to spend actually saying in the middle of their scientific arguments, by the way, there's no God. They don't make no, but that's the point. You're reading something into that. This is like saying, listen, this is like
if you
no, wait, give me a second. In the Islamic world, it's very common when people talk. Now who's being rude and disrespectful, Mark?
Look, I'm just saying, you've monopolized this discussion. Go ahead.
In the Islamic world, it's very common whenever one says a statement about certain kind of things that might happen in the future to commonly say, inshallah, basically saying, if Allah is willing. That would be a common view within a very religious social context. When we're watching a baseball game, there is very, very little time that is spent with the announcers and the players all commenting about the fact of, well, he's going to really, try to knock in a home run, good Lord willing. No one would feel that the game was particularly improved by bringing in more religious references. Scientists are just making the point that there is no advantage in improving the science that comes from trying to bring in some sort of religious idea of a mysterious, unspecified, undefined designer who may or may not be God, because it doesn't help you develop good hypotheses that sharpen the science. That's what the argument is actually about. And that is what Ben Stein ignores in Expelled.
I don't agree with that.
What part of it don't you agree with?
Well, it's hard when it's such length here in your responses. The idea that, first of all, if all you teach is essentially can be boiled down to a materialist view, then you by default teach a religious position, because atheism actually is a religion. It's a set of beliefs.
Is it a materialist position that is anti-religious when engineers are taught about what the strength of different materials that will hold up a building are, since they don't acknowledge that after all the power of God could hold it up too?
I think it's a weak argument that you bring in. You bring in a specific, Muslim, religion into this.
I'm not bringing Muslim religion.
You just
into
did.
I mentioned that as an example of the ways in which you can bring religious ideas into anything if you want to.
And
I just brought up a different case now of engineering.
But you've pushed it.
My engineering example.
Well, you pushed it to a ridiculous point.
How have I made it ridiculous?
Nobody's
You're dismissing.
Nobody's making that case, and we certainly don't make that kind of case.
Nobody makes that case because they know if they made that case, they would seem ridiculous. But they think that because when they deal with science and issues that genuinely are still under exploration that no one has answers for, they like to jump in and they like to be able to use those as a point where, well, maybe we can try to sneak God in on this. And there, somehow, it's not ridiculous.
No, I don't think you try to sneak God into it. I think you keep it scientific, and you say these are scientific ideas that should be examined. When we don't know where information comes from, when it's difficult to understand through evolutionary biology exactly what happened, is it ridiculous to look at the evidence and say, can design be identified here? Why is that off the table? And you don't have
to. It's not off the table if someone can develop a good argument and evidence to demonstrate why it belongs inside the discussion. Right. That's all. If one of these explanatory filters for being able to demonstrate design.
How do you do that when the establishment is absolutely owned and funded by people who believe passionately as you do? When the establishment has a singular point of view, how do you get another point of view in the door when the people who are in charge, who have all the funding, who have all the power and prestige, are devoted to a singular view? How do you get another view in?
But see, that's a materialist view too, though. If it's all about God, then it would be an inside job. There's all this external projection into some sort of the establishment.
And there's not an external projection from the other side?
How do you mean?
What I mean is that you have everybody who comes at this evidence to pretend that you're somehow coming from this evidence from some kind of empirical scientific high ground, and that you're not impacted by your own biases. Both sides are. Come on.
I don't think that's...
You wouldn't walk into a barber shop and tell the barber to use a wrench